وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. سبحانك لا فهم لنا إلا ما فهمتنا إنك أنت الجواد الكريم. قل رب زدني علما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. حرمت عليكم أمهاتكم وبناتكم وأخواتكم وعماتكم وخالاتكم وبنات الأخ وبنات الأخت وأمهاتكم اللاتي أرضعنكم وأخواتكم من الرضاعة وأمهات نسائكم وربائبكم اللاتي في حجوركم من نسائكم اللاتي دخلتم بهن فإن لم تكونوا دخلتم بهن فلا جناح عليكم وحلائل أبنائكم الذين من أصلابكم وأن تجمعوا بين الأختين إلا ما قد سلف إن الله كان غفورا رحيما. صدق الله مولانا العظيم. So here, continuing with the what we call muharramat nisa, those women who are forbidden to be married. And of course, after mentioning the abomination of marrying the wives of the fathers, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues to mention in detail the various women who the marriage is not permissible with them. Number one, حُرِّمَتْ عَلَيْكُمْ أُمَّهَاتُكُمْ, your mothers. Mothers meaning mother, and who goes, as we say, Uma Alat, and who is above mother, grandmother, great-grandmother. Ummahatukum, Mubanatukum, and daughters. Daughters also, Umma yani Nazalat, and below the daughter, granddaughter, great-granddaughter, etc., and going downward. Wa akhawatukum, and your sisters, whether they're sisters from mother and father both, or they're sisters from mother or from father, half-sisters as it were. So also those sisters. Wa ammatukum, and your aunts. Of course, an aunt in English we say the aunt, it's a very broad term, but it's very specific. It's much more specific in Arabic. So amma is actually the sister of the father. The sister of the father. So the sister of the father is called an amma, and the sister of the mother is called a khala. I think in Urdu also you have khala and what is the woman called? From the father? Pupi, yeah. Okay. Akhawatukum wa ammatukum wa khalatukum wa banatul akh, and also the daughters of the brother. Daughters of the brother and the daughters of your sisters. Nephews, as we would call them in English. وَأُمَّهَاتُكُمُ اللَّاتِي أَرْضَعْنَكُمْ, and also your mothers in fostering, what we call al-umm min al-rada', those mothers who have fostered, have given milk. And of course, that hukam or that injunction will take place according to the Hanafis. Any amount of milk from the woman's milk which will be ingested in the small child be in the time what we call muddat al-rada', or the period which al-rada is those injunctions will hold true and they will take place. And that will be 2 years according to most of the ulama. According to Imam Abu Hanifa, 2.5 years, 30 months. So within that period, if any woman has given milk to any of those, to any child within that period, 2 years according to most of the ulama, or 2.5 years, so then there will be at tahrim bir rida. So also it will have significance. And that's whether the milk is taken directly from the breast of the mother or it's taken out and by any means it actually reaches into the stomach of that child. And suppose it's mixed with something else. If it's at least half or more than half, then it also takes that hukum. Some of the consider that there has to be a certain amount, twice or 3 times or a certain amount, but otherwise in the Hanafi opinion, any amount, which is a bit more careful. So that's what we call tahrim bil rada, and it's also significant. There are three types of tahrim. One is tahrim by kinship, and one is tahrim by the fostering, and one is tahrim by marriage, which we'll come to later on, inshallah, at the end of these individuals. أمهاتكم اللاتي أرضعنكم وأخواتكم من الرضاعة. Also your sisters in rada, meaning the daughters of the mother who has fostered, or you have a young child girl who is fostered by the same mother. So that small child and the female or the male both have been fostered by the same woman, so they become brothers and sisters in rada. وأخواتكم من الرضاعة وأمهات نسائكم, and also your mothers of your wives, and grandmothers of your wives, etc., going upwards. وربائبكم التي في حجوركم, and also your stepsons, your stepdaughters, your stepdaughters who are in في حجوركم. Hijr is basically in your lap, so meaning they're in your house and who happen to be. Now this doesn't mean that if they're living in your house then they are forbidden to you. If they're not living in your house, they're not. No, that's generally how it is, because when they're small girls, they live in your house because they're the daughters of your wife from a previous marriage. However, here, وَرَبَائِبُكُمُ الَّتِي فِي حُجُورِكُم, and those foster or those step daughters which are there in your houses from your women, from your wives, whom التي دخلتم بهن, whom you've actually had intercourse with. فإن لم تكونوا دخلتم بهن, and if there has not been intercourse, for example, you have contracted a marriage with a woman, she has a stepdaughter, but there was not a consummation of that marriage. So in this case, if the divorce takes place, marriage of that child or the daughter is permissible, whereas the mother is not permissible, but the daughter is permissible if there has not been a consummation of marriage. If there's a consummation of marriage, then in no instance will it be legal. Even if that person divorces that woman, then it still remains, she remains the stepdaughter continuously. And if you haven't consummated the marriage, then there's no harm in marrying those stepdaughters. And also the wives of your sons, who are actually your real sons. We have this the adoption, which takes legal status here in the West. But if you adopt or you take care of any person, that doesn't make them your relationship. That is a specific relationship which is a kinship by blood. You cannot adopt, and therefore, Sayyidina Zayd, and the Arabs also had this concept of adoption also, and therefore Zayd was known as the son of Muhammad, Zayd ibn Muhammad. But then the Quran came and said, no, he's not Zayd ibn Muhammad, he's Zayd, son of his own father. He is actually, so Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam was his guardian. And ultimately, as we mentioned in Sirah, Zayd, preferred Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam over his own father, when his father finally actually came to find out where he was and requested him to come with him. In any case, so the adopted child, this doesn't hold true. So therefore, it's mentioned here that daughter or the wife of the son who is actually your genetic son, he's actually your biological son. And to join or in marriage two sisters. So at the same time, you cannot marry two sisters, and it also happened that in Jahiliyyah this used to take place. إِلَى مَا قَدْ سَلَفَ, except for that which took place earlier. As we mentioned earlier, it doesn't mean if it took place earlier, go ahead, it's okay. No, it's not okay. You'll have to separate from one of them, but there will not be a sin because you didn't know. Okay? Now, suppose he divorces that sister. If he divorces that sister, now he can marry that other sister if he so pleases. إِلَى مَا قَدْ سَلَفَ, and we mentioned about that. Inna Allah kana ghafurur rahim, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very forgiving and very merciful. And so whatever took place previously,